The Villa d'Este is a villa in Tivoli, near Rome, Italy. Listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, it is a fine example of Renaissance architecture and the Italian Renaissance garden. As a state museum, Villa d'Este has since December 2014 been run by the Polo Museo del Lazio. History. The Villa d'Este was commissioned by Cardinal Ippolito II d'Este, son of Alfonso I d'Este and Lucrezia Borgia and grandson of Pope Alexander VI. He had been appointed governor of Tivoli by Pope Julius III, with the gift of the existing palace, which he had entirely reconstructed to plans of Piero Ligorio carried out under the direction of the Ferraris architect-engineer Alberto Galvani, court architect of the Est. The chief painter of the ambitious internal decoration was Livio Agresta from Filai. From 1550 until his death in 1572, when the villa was nearing completion, Cardinal d'Este created a palatial setting surrounded by a spectacular terrace garden in the late Renaissance Mannerist style, which took advantage of the dramatic slope but required innovations in bringing a sufficient water supply, which was employed in cascades, water tanks, troughs and pools, water jets and fountains, water games. The result is one of the series of great 17th-century villas with water play structures in the hills surrounding the Roman Campagna, such as the Villa Lanti, the Villa Farnese at Caprarola, and the Villas Aldobrandini and Torlonia in Frascati. Their garden planning and their water features were imitated in the next 2 centuries from Portugal to Poland, drawing inspiration from the nearby Villa Adriana, the palatial retreat of Emperor Hadrian, and reviving Roman techniques of hydraulic engineering to supply water to a sequence of fountains. The Cardinal created a fantasy garden. Its architectural elements and water features had an enormous influence on European landscape design. Piero Ligorio, who was responsible for the iconographic programs worked out in the villa's frescoes, was also commissioned to lay out the gardens for the villa, with the assistance of Tommaso Chiarucci of Bologna, one of the most skilled hydraulic engineers of the 16th century. Chiarucci had worked on the fountains at Villa Lanti. Cardinal Alessandro d'Este repaired and extended the gardens from 1605. In the 18th century the villa and its gardens passed to the House of Habsburg after Ercole III d'Este bequeathed it to his daughter Maria Beatrice, married to Grand Duke Ferdinand of Habsburg. The villa and its gardens were neglected. The hydraulics fell into disuse, and many of the sculptures commissioned by Ippolito d'Este were scattered to other sites. The picturesque sense of decay recorded by Karl Blechen and other painters was reversed during the tenure of Cardinal Gustav Adolf, Prince of Hohenlohe-Schilling-Fürst. The Cardinal hosted Franz Liszt, who evokes the garden in his Les Jeux de la Villa d'Este and gave one of his last concerts here. Villa d'Este was purchased for the Italian state after World War I, restored and refurnished with paintings from the storerooms of the Galleria Nazionale, Rome. Jean Garrig's volume of poems A Water Walk by Villa d'Este continues a long tradition of poetry inspired by the gardens. Kenneth Anger filmed Ode d'Artifice among the water features of the garden. Thus the villa has been celebrated in poetry, painting and music. The grounds of the Villa d'Este also house the Museo Didattico del Libro Antico, a teaching museum for the study and conservation of antiquarian books. The villa itself is surrounded on 3 sides by a 16th-century courtyard sited on the former Benedictine cloister. The fountain on a side wall, framed within a Doric, contains a sculpture of a sleeping nymph, in a grotto guarded by d'Este heraldic eagles, with a bas-relief framed in apple boughs that links the villa to the garden of the Hesperides. The central main entrance leads to the Appartamento Vecchio made for Ippolito d'Este, with its vaulted ceilings frescoed in secular allegories by Livio Agresta and his students, centered on the Grand Sala, with its spectacular view down the main axis of the gardens, which fall away in a series of terraces. To the left and right are suites of rooms, that on the left containing Cardinal Ippolito's library and his bedchamber with the chapel beyond, and the private stairs to the lower apartment, the Appartamento Nobile, which gives directly onto Piero Ligorio's ground loggia straddling the gravel terrace with a triumphal arch motif. Gardens. The garden plan is laid out on a central axis with subsidiary cross-axes, refreshed by some 500 jets in fountains, pools and water troughs. The water is supplied by the Nin, which is partly diverted through the town, a distance of 1 kilometer, and, originally, by the Rivoli's spring, which supplied a cistern under the villa's courtyard. The garden is now part of the Grandi Giardini Italiana. The villa's uppermost terrace ends in a balustraded balcony at the left end, with a sweeping view over the plain below. Symmetrical double flights of stairs flanking the central axis lead to the next garden terrace, with the Grotto of Diana, richly decorated with frescoes and pebble mosaic to one side, and the central Fontana del Bicchiere, planned by Bernini in 1660. Where water issues from a seemingly natural rock into a scrolling shell-like cup. To descend to the next level, there are stairs at either end. The elaborate fountain complex called the Rometta is at the far left to view the full length of the 100 fountains on the next level, where the water jets fill the long rustic trough, and Piero Ligorio's Fontana del Lovato ends the cross vista. A visitor may walk behind the water through the rusticated arcade of the concave Nymphaeum, which is peopled by marble nymphs by Giambattista della Porta. Above the Nymphaeum, the sculpture of Pegasus recalls to the visitor the fountain of Hippocrene on Parnassus, haunt of the Muses. This terrace is united to the next by the central fountain of the dragons, dominating the central perspective of the gardens. Erected for a visit in 1572 of Pope Gregory XIII, whose coat of arms features a dragon. The sound of this fountain was in contrast to a nearby ucellario with artificial birds. Central stairs lead down a wooded slope to 3 rectangular fish ponds set on the cross-axis at the lowest point of the gardens, terminated at the right by the water organ and fountain of Neptune. How to reach Villa d'Este is easily reachable in the following ways. Taking the Blue Regional COTRAL bus Roma Tivoli via Prenestina at the bus terminal just outside Ponte Mammolo station of Metro Line B, the stop Largo Nazioni Unite is about 100 meters far from the entrance of the villa. Taking the urban train line FL2 from Tiburtina station to Tivoli station, then, local bus count number 1 or 4, to Piazza Garibaldi stop. The stop is in Tivoli's main square in front of the villa. Gallery. The Rometta Fountain. The Fontana del Lovato cascades from its egg-shaped basin into a pool set against a rustic nymphaeum. La Cento Fontaine. Ceiling fresco of the villa. Ceiling fresco of the villa. Tivoli, Villa d'Este, by Stanislaw Maslowski, watercolor, 1922. Villa d'Este by Pierre Athanase Chauvin.